Um, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the fourth open tending call in the Broom Radio. Um, I guess like the way I describe these calls is basically like we wanted to have the governance meetings be public once a month, at least once a month, and we're starting out with the last. It's like Tuesday. Well, I guess it's Monday night. No, Tuesday night. Sorry, in the Americas, Wednesday morning in Asia. um, and this is the first tending call where we'll be doing what I've come to know as like a retro or a retrospective, which doesn't mean that we dress up as people from ancient time periods or even like more recently lapsed time periods, although we were talking about Renaissance fairs. But I would say like the intent of a retrospective is to look back at the last, period of time and then just be able like hold space for a discussion about like feelings about it. And then I would say like if it feels appropriate, take like those feelings and process them so that we can like reorganize or reconfigure ourselves for the next period of time. And since we're doing these calls monthly, I'll say that we're looking back 1 month and then we'll be looking forward 1 month. So yeah, I'd say like the past calls, which have been open tending calls, which have also been recorded and put on the podcast, have been more like basically like our weekly tending calls, which if anyone's listened to them, you've probably noticed like we like really get into it. Like we talk about things we want to do. We have like project management. We try to keep our project management tools up to date with where things actually are. And, we do a lot of work to try and I'll say till the soil of this like nascent organization we call the Broom. And yeah, I think like I kind of had the intuitive nudge over the last like couple of weeks that maybe we should move towards having like a retrospective format, both because I feel like it's more fun for people who aren't involved in the day-to-day of tending in the Broom. And secondly, because I feel like it's actually like, I would say like about the right time, I'd say in the maturity of our organization to start introducing a process like retrospectives so that we can, I'd say, collectively improve the process of tending in the Broom. And then as a little like tiny little like bonus reason, I'll say that since we've started to collect money from members of the Broom and I would say even non-members of the Broom for the work that we're doing in the Broom, this can also be the start of like when we start, I would say like cooperating fiscally to determine what we're doing with the money that we collect. And I imagine that maybe one day people who are investing in the Broom will want to be part of that process as well. So I guess like I'll start just by saying it's already 10:24 my time. I want to say like let's spend like 15 minutes talk tricks if we can. And then also I just want to invite anybody to introduce themselves if they want to for listeners on the podcast. I'm Nobu and we have 7 people here who are involved in tending the Broom. So I guess I can start with like social media metrics. I dropped these in the thread called Open Tending. They're buried by a bunch of different screenshots right now, but I'll say that like I did this very lightly, and I did not use any tools to collect these stats. But And also, I didn't include Instagram because we're not very active there, but maybe I should have. Anyway, so our Mastodon official Broom Radio account has 23 followers, and we're averaging around 2 likes and 2 boosts per post. The official The Broom Radio account on X has 75 followers, and we're averaging around 7 likes and 3-ish boosts per post. And I'll say that some of the most liked posts were not from the official Broom Radio account. They were like reposted, which is like a little bit counter to sort of like what we talked about might happen. But we can talk more about that. And then on Threads, we have 41 followers, and we're averaging around 3 likes and 3 boosts. So, yeah, does anybody have anything they want to say about those stats? If you want to text, I can read it out. But if you want to just unmute, I feel like that would be welcome too. And this is like the first time we're talking about it, so it's kind of like our baseline, I would say. Adam
Yeah,
says none.
that's
Go on, sorry.
I'm Hoda, y'all, Intrepid Bodies. What's up, everyone here live and tuning in asynchronously? I was basically gonna say what you were about to say, Nobu, about how this feels like foundational since this is the first time we're looking at these. So yeah, there's not much commentary on my end, but it's good to see this. Okay.
Cool. Podrock, do you want to talk about, I think you were talking about collecting stats on the podcast and also on Discord.
Yeah, so I'm Podrock, everybody. Yeah, we just got a Discord bot to collect some analytics for like metrics on channel activity specifically, but also voice activity, so we can kind of see like what channels are like, getting a lot of attention, what channels may not be getting attention, and things like that. And in the past 21 days, I'm sorry, in the past 30 days, we've actually had 15,000 total messages across 32 different members and 89 different channels. And just some of those channels have an extensive thread layout. So yeah, it's a lot of activity in Discord.
I'm just looking at the screenshots to see if there's anything to call out in audio for people who can't see the screenshots. But if you're interested in the screenshots, they will be dropped in a channel or in a thread called Open Tending Number 4 in the Open Tending channel. But yeah, I'm kind of curious if people were scrolling through and if there's anything that's jumping out for comment. Like I'd say I'm like pleasantly surprised that there have been like 32 unique members contributing, because there's only really like 7 of us, which is to say that, like, for every one of us tenders, you could say there's like 3 other people contributing, which is like more than I would have expected. I guess the other thing which is kind of funny to me is like the top channel in terms of messaging is like the radio channel. Are we on the radio channel now? We should
Yes.
be. Yeah. Good. Which is kind of funny to me, but also it kind of makes sense. I mean, I think it's like, for me, it speaks to the power of like synchronous media in a world which I think is like increasingly asynchronous. And then I thought it was kind of funny that the next channel, biggest channel by far, is like, well, there's 2 tending channels somehow. I don't know how that works, but I think that's pretty funny because like that's the channel that we use to talk about tending in the broom and outside the broom. So I think it speaks a little bit to like how much work is happening here. What's up, Light and Leaf? This is our open tending call, so it's where we talk about how we're governing in the broom publicly, and we record it and we put it on the podcast. But we're just going through stats for the first time right now and talking about stats in the broom. Just like feel free to unmute or like text anything if you have any questions. But yeah, I was saying like it's funny to me that like, well, first there's like 2 tending channels, which might just be a bug, but it's like 3 times more active than any of the other channels, and the next biggest channel is like music. So that doesn't feel quite right to me, I will say, but it's interesting. And then yeah, I guess like as I was saying, I think it's pretty interesting that the broom seems to be most heavily used between like 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern, and then maybe there's a little bit of a more usage at like around 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then sometimes there's a little bit of usage around like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., which kind of makes sense to me. Like people kind of like get their day started. If they're at work, they get on their computers and they do a bit of work. And then like after they get home, maybe before they go to bed, they're online for a while. And maybe a little bit after lunchtime. I don't know. Having said that, like I'm in a completely different time zone, so but I would say that my sleeping patterns feel pretty tailored towards like being around to do tending inside the broom and outside the broom for US people. Yeah. I guess like another interesting stat for me is like in the last 14 days and not the last 30 days. So like in the last 14 days, there have been unique, like 19 unique contributors. And then in the last 30 days, I think the number was 32, which tells me a little bit about like what the distribution looks like of like unique contributions, right? Like you could say that we have like 32 monthly active users. And then maybe you could say probably like, or you could say definitely within the last 14 days, like 19 like fortnightly active users. And that would, oh yeah, and also in the last 7 days, 19 active users. So, basically you could say we have 19 weekly active users and then 32 monthly active users, which kind of like, gives you a sense of like the distribution of, yeah, like how active those members are, right? I'm going to read the chat real quick to see if anyone has comments that they don't want to say unmuted. Lots of. Oh, yeah. Light and Leaf was asking, am I allowed to be here? Yes, this is public on purpose. Thank you for answering that in text. Number of messages is pretty cool to see. Anna also expressed surprise about 32 members. I was laughing that we have 89 channels, but I don't know. It's fine for me. I guess, like, is there anything else that anybody wants to say? Anything that's surprising? We can also talk about this stuff in the retro, like if we want to talk about like optimizing these stats.
I thought it would be cool to just mention that globally or all time we've had 500,000 messages, 507,000.
That's wild.
Yeah, 286 total members have chatted in the Discord, and there's 194 channels with a bunch of threads.
Right. Cool. Okay, so we've got about like 5 minutes left for this part. I guess I was curious if we wanted to talk about Buy Me a Coffee stats.
Yeah, I got I got real basic information on that. BMac, also formerly known as Buy Me a Coffee. We've got 2 subscribers and 2 donations so far.
Okay, and that's been around for like about a week and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I think on Shadow Away we have
We
2
have
subscribers.
Hey, I have it up here. So on Shitty Our Way, we have 4 subscribers.
Ooh,
Um, and yeah, the supporters are coming in. That's also a thing now. So yeah,
that's pretty cool. And then everybody who subscribes to Shadow Away is also getting the role for the pot, right?
they yes, they
Okay,
should.
cool. I'm gonna like fill this in the open tending channel later, so we just have a record as we go from thread to thread. I'm not feeling cold to like put this in a spreadsheet yet, but maybe one day, or maybe somebody else will feel like it. I'll say that like the 000 way also has you know, like people who subscribe to 000 also get membership in the pot in Discord. We don't like have the tools to kind of do that carrying over within Buy Me a Coffee, which is fine because I think the Discord is still kind of the canon of the broom. And I'll say, how many subscribers do I have on 000 now? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paid subscribers, and one non-subscribing supporter. And I know one of those subscribers is not in the broom. I don't know why yet, but I also don't feel called to ask them to join. But they're getting like the recordings I post to Buy Me a Coffee. So we haven't had our first formal meeting where we kind of like talk about all the stuff that's coming into the pot and attempt to distribute it and account for it. But also, like, we're not talking about like massive amounts of money right now, so I wouldn't say it's urgent. But yeah, we've kind of like loosely talked in different fora about things like accounting for the time that we're spending in the broom. Um, and finding a way to assign value to that so that it can be accounted for as equity. And I think we've also loosely talked about accounting for both like membership dues and one-off donations to the pot and accounting for that so it can be used as equity. And then also, yeah, like basically using equity to determine like how the money in the pot is distributed at some point. So um, maybe that will be part of this open tending call at some point. It sounds like really, it's like quite detailed, so it might not necessarily be the most fun call for people to join. But I'll say like also when I feel, if we have more money coming in at some point, then it might feel like more fun. Or it might feel like higher stakes. And I feel like higher stakes often equals more fun in my experience. Um, like even if it's monopoly money, but if it's like real money, I think it's even more fun. So we got like 1 minute left to talk about metrics. I'm actually kind of surprised we got through it so quickly. But yeah,
Want to do
go
Spotify,
on.
YouTube real quick?
Oh shit! Thank you for reminding me.
I've, I'll
Please
just say
go.
it real quick. So our Spotify, we had 1,280 impressions, which are potential search results, like we showed up in people's searches for maybe like spiritual podcasts. We have 30 total followers, and in the last 7 days, we've had 18 listeners. That's the podcast audio. On YouTube, we've actually kind of had a little explosion on April Fool's Day. Hopefully, it wasn't an April Fool's joke. Um, so we had 313 plays on YouTube in the last 28 days, and we added 7 subscribers for a total of Not sure, but we had 21 viewers over the 21 people listen. Sorry about that.
How many total followers did you say? Not sure.
Not sure. 21 listeners though.
We're talking about YouTube.
Yes, this is YouTube, which is
Okay.
separate metrics than the podcast. So you got to combine them, kind of.
Oh, interesting. I'll just like look it up really quickly just from like the external site. We have 35 subscribers on YouTube
Thank you.
on the channel. I'm not sure how that connects to the podcast thing, but I'm confused. Okay. I mean, I'd say that like since the last time I checked, like that increased like 5 or 6. I think the last time I checked it was around 30 or 29 on YouTube. So that's pretty cool. And then yeah, I guess I'll just say that for people who are listening via like Pocket Casts or like I think there's Apple Podcasts will give us stats as well, but I don't think we have to look into it now. But you know, if you're using like some kind of like RSS feed reader or some app which just kind of sits on the RSS feed, then we don't really get stats for that. So like I'll say like I use Pocket Casts when I'm on the road because data in Australia is kind of expensive. But I tend to use YouTube if I'm at home because I feel like I want to like help boost our rankings in the YouTube algorithm. And you can do whatever you want, but that's just like my way of doing things because I think stats are important. I think like feeding the algorithms is important, but I also think that, you know, saving money on cellular data is important. Does anybody else have anything to say about podcast metrics? And yeah, once again, we'll be posting these to the open tending thread so we can review them if we prefer to hear these things. If we prefer to look at these things visually versus hearing numbers in audio. $217 unique viewers on YouTube. Last 28 days.
I've got it up. If you're in Discord, you can see the screenshot. We'll also have it in the channel.
That is pretty cool.
Do
I
we
don't know
know
how
what
long they're
viewers?
viewing or listening for, but I'm pretty psyched about that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do we know what unique viewers means? Does that just mean like individual viewers? Like,
Yes, not
oh, cool.
plays, but individual
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Sick.
So like each one of those individual people could have viewed something multiple times or viewed multiple videos multiple times.
Yeah, 313 views total among those people.
Oh, okay. So then you can kind of extrapolate it and say that like there's roughly 1.5 views per person in the last 28 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's good to know. Okay. So going once, going twice. Anybody else have any comments on these stats? I'm really glad that we got to look at them. I'm sorry that I left the podcast stats a little bit late because I forgot about them, but we won't do that next month. Okay, cool. All right, so I kind of discussed the retro format before, but I wouldn't be surprised if like, because it's a little bit complex, and I feel like a lot of us tend to like learn things by actually doing them. So, and also I've never used the poll feature in Discord for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for 1 minute, please just like in the text of the chat, write down the things that you're feeling good about and you want to see happen more often. And then I'll start a poll. Well, and then after that, we'll spend 1 minute writing down things that we feel not great about over the last month. Not just about metrics, but just like not great about with regard to tending in the broom. And then I'll put those in the poll. I'm gonna do this all on my phone somehow, and then well, let's just start there. I'll say like after that we'll do like things that we just want to talk about. Whether maybe we don't feel good about them, we don't feel bad about them. We might not know how we feel about them, but we might want to talk about them. And then I'll put all of those in a poll, and then I'll try to make it so you can vote for multiple things, and then we'll talk about like the top 3. So okay, I'm gonna start the timer now, and I'm gonna draw a line in the chat. It's very scientific, and I'll say things that we are happy about and want to do more of. And then I'm going to use my intuitive 1-minute timer. And then I'm going to include some things myself. And I'm going to put a smiley face next to it so it's easier for me to track it. And also, like, yeah, just a reminder, not just like metrics-based stuff, but also just tending stuff. Also, if you see somebody else putting something that you like, you can just put like a thumbs up on it. You don't have to write it again. That'll make it easier for me to like collate everything. I have no idea how far we are into the 60 seconds of my intuitive timer, but let's say we have about 10 seconds left. Ooh, I don't think anyone's actually gone live on YouTube simulcast. And I said 10 seconds, but it's a very long 10 seconds because I see that people are still happy and typing. I'm also curious how this is going for Light and Leaf, as someone who's like recently back in the fold in the broom. You're super welcome to participate. I don't know if I should have said that earlier, but okay, I'm gonna stop it now. I'm just gonna draw a line / things we are happy about and want to do more of, and then I'm gonna draw a new line and say things we are sad about, are sad about, and want to do differently. And I'll start another 1-minute intuitive timer. There's probably a bot that does this, but whatever. I want it to be flexible. Kit atan sortet ftaranet atakranasa. I'll also say that, like, in the past when I've done this, it's been anonymous. Like, you can like add topics anonymously, but I don't feel like that's very easy to do. And I also feel like we can cultivate the capacity for people to like not have to submit things anonymously. I'm gonna say 10 seconds left, but it could be a long 10 seconds like last time. I will read these out before I construct the vote, and I'm also like, damn, how am I gonna construct this vote? But maybe somebody else. I'll construct the vote, and somebody else can read through the things. How does that sound? Because I can talk faster than I can type. Okay. Do you want to read out the things, Hoda, while I'm typing out the vote?
I totally can. I'm
All
gonna
right.
read from both lists.
Yeah, I'll just like say, okay, these are the things that people are happy about, and then these are the things that people are sad about. And then the last list, I'm gonna stop the timer for sad things. The last list is things that we want to talk about and change, which we aren't necessarily, we don't know how we feel about, which we have ambivalent feelings about. And I'll set like another 1 minute intuitive timer for this. And I'm gonna start constructing. Oh, actually, fuck it. I'm gonna put. And I'll also say, like, I will screenshot these topics for the channel. I'll also say that, like, I feel like whenever people are sharing their feelings about stuff, it's a good opportunity for, like, healing. I'll also say, like, when we read these things out, if things don't seem clear, then it's an opportunity for people to clarify what they meant. And I'll leave that up to you, Hoda. All right, I'm gonna stop the poll. I'm gonna start the poll and I'm gonna stop the timer. So Hoda, if you would like to like read through the list of submissions and also like hold space for clarification if anybody's confused about what anything means, I'm gonna type the poll up.
All right, sounds good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool beans. All right, so starting with the first point, things that we are happy about and want to do more of. First thing was something Nobu shared, which is having metrics. The next thing is from Adam, which reads weaving and threading in the Sharia way. The next thing about regarding things that we're happy about and want to do more of, Nobu writes developments in spiritual science and artificial intelligence threads. Adam responds deep, but also silly and authentic conversations, which I really agree with. I ended up writing something that I'm happy to see us do more of, or just happy with in general, is regarding Buy Me a Coffee integration, the spa containers that are happening within the 000 lineage space, and then live containers in general in the broom, I feel are going really well. Nobu wrote something that he's happy about is the relaxed nature of accountability in the tending way. Anna writes, also happy about Buy Me a Coffee rollout. Podrock wrote about going live on YouTube simulcast. And that is everything. I just kind of want to give maybe 30 seconds to pause and see if anyone would like to clarify anything that they shared or clarify anything about what I shared.
I'll say take your time because can you hear me typing?
No, I can't.
Okay, I'm typing. You also have to read through the other two lists, right?
Yeah, I do. So you have time. You got time, man.
Ooh, there's a maximum of 17 choices. Maybe this is not gonna work. I'm gonna try and combine stuff.
All right, and I'm going to take this time now to move on to the list or the responses to the prompt about things that we're sad about and want to do differently. And so the first thing that I responded to regarding that prompt is feeling sad about not having had as much time to tend the past 2 weeks, but I'm hopeful that things will change. Nobu wrote that he's been moved not to make a lot of progress on promotion. Adam says that he's sad about or wanting more and wanting to do differently about voices on radio. So, like in live containers, having more voices, I guess, contribute to conversations. Adam also says that there are not enough dance parties, which I agree with. Nobu says that he feels like there's slower progress since week 1 before the total solar eclipse. Totally aligns for me. Julie wrote, not personally investing as much time in tending in general the past few weeks, falling behind in promoting, not investing as much time as I'd like in convos in the broom, not attending many live containers the past few weeks. And Julie says she's hoping to carve out more time. Ashe. So yeah, I wonder if anyone would like to clarify or expand on anything I read out so far. Mm. Okay. Going once, going twice, and thrice. And I'm going to move on to things that we want to talk about and change, which we have ambivalent feelings about, um, which is so interestingly worded, I feel. Um, Nobu wrote, how do we make it more possible for people to contribute if Discord is intimidating or whatever? Heavy on the whatever. But also, how do we make it more possible for people to contribute? Is I feel probably something a lot of us can relate to because I also see a lot of us emoji reacted to that. So I know I'm not making that up. Nobu also wrote, can we get people to help promote the broom radio from within the pot? Um, which I feel speaks to the role of promoter right now, which kind of alerts anyone who signs up for that role um, whenever there is content being shared from the Broom Radio Twitter account, but also if any of us who do promote containers do end up sharing promoters, do get that notification. So that is something I'm interested in as well. Adam writes about looking at a map of channels, I'm assuming to help navigate the server altogether. Um, and then I wrote when it comes to things that we want to change, slash things that we're feeling ambivalent about. I wrote, how do we make tending more equitable in ways that are organic and not forcey? And Nobu responded, equity. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna hold a little bit more space.
I'm gonna ask Adam what you meant by looking at the map of channel. I'm just gonna see if I can word it a little better for the poll.
Mhm.
I guess it's just like looking at server layout and making it clear where things
Okay.
are.
Okay. I'm gonna make that the same topic as Discord, maybe. Just because I feel like it could be part of a similar discussion. All right. I've done typing up all the things.
Awesome.
I am gonna make the duration. I'll make it 5 minutes because 1 minute seems very little. I'm gonna say members can vote for multiple choices at a time, and the maximum votes is unlimited. And I will start now. Tappy 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 tappy. Wow. Y'all can see the poll?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think we have 13 choices. And I'm gonna say we're only gonna talk about the top 3. I'm not sure how tractable that is, but we'll see how we do. And you can be happy about something without necessarily wanting to talk about it. I feel like that's useful to know. I'm going to channel light language while waiting. And I welcome anyone else too as well. Tifterum art kurosatakaran sharan eftarparun. Ni eret uftaran karessa. Nef eftarum Allah. Lift erin eres tukurun staran eftarparun karatesefla. Lik aniftim tukurun stakarta. If the Madonna Nakatistrata Kropataftaram Shara Liat Anda Taftaran Karatokramas Timish Net Enel Kaltamanaro Katiftaran Kris. This is, I'll say, like, I used to do retros in, like, corporate America, particularly, like, the tech startup sector of corporate America for a long time, and nobody ever channeled light language. So this is fun. Li Aram Matuf Haranastakarat Enim. Got a 3-way tie. I'm gonna have to break that somehow. Mitt en efter takaromasatare. Ni efter nakaratanish. Ooh. I'm sorry, Podrock. No one's actually done a YouTube simulcast yet. I know I was supposed to figure it out, but I didn't get to it.
Yeah, it's all good. I think it could play in the same thread as making Discord easier for some people, because if we simulcast
Ooh.
all the containers on YouTube, they wouldn't even have to worry about Discord.
And they'll be recorded as well, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for saying that. Got about 2 more minutes left. Oh, we got a tie for first as well. That's nice. I mean, at least it's not like everybody wants to talk about everything. That would be tough. Tina på olika artister för de kadestare. Min enda taftare orukta aratakana nashat ili. Tineftam sarutat. I wonder if any light language-based organization has ever done a retro either. This could be the first light language retrospective of all time. Next time I can just play a song while we're waiting for the polls if y'all want. Like the Thomas the Tank Engine trap remix or something. I think we've probably got 1 minute left on the poll. Need ambro katana karsai. Yeleften krota na karsa karamasshot lana. Need enero. Need enero borum. Need enero borum. Need enero borum satftarana kador. Kit ene start kramashto. Kika. Kika. I also feel like there'll be more stuff about metrics when, because it's like the first time we've really like collected it all. So when we can start to like compare between like a month to month comparison, it might spur more thoughts about what we can do to grow these metrics if we want to grow them. We might like our tiny metrics. We might like for them never to grow up and leave the house. But maybe we'll see. We've got a clear winner now. Okay. It's got to be the last minute for this poll now. Ends 1 second ago. Oh, okay. Hoda has to go in 22 minutes, which I think is good. So we've got 3 topics. I'm going to start now. What I'm going to say is I'm going to try and make it like 5 minutes per topic, roughly. And I do want us to talk about how we feel about them, but I also want us to come up with actual things that we want to do based on the discussion. So number 1 is, how do we make tending more equitable organically and without force? What do y'all think?
Well, the first thing that comes up for me is kind of considering the model that we have in terms of like output and what's coming out of the Broom Radio and the Discord server being the podcast. I'm thinking about more people accessing that and just kind of hearing the way that things go down here being sort of an invitation to the server. I'm thinking about the fact that we have tried Twitter Spaces before, had a couple of containers actually running on Twitter Spaces, and like seeing what that kind of looked like. And then now kind of considering what Podrock said about someone casting on YouTube might be something that'll change that. Just the way that people interact with the brand in and of itself. And then I think the way that people react to the Discord, or the fact that there is a Discord server, might kind of change that, is what comes up for me. And I'm curious what comes up for y'all around it.
I mean, when I said something about equity, what I was basically talking about is making it so that like the time that we put into tending in the broom ends up being accounted for in some way that A, like we can kind of get paid out for, B, I would say also contributes to how much of a say we have in like what happens to like whatever's in the pot financially. And I feel like that could like encourage people to like both like maybe like sign up to do promotion work, but also like sign up to be tenders. But I really liked what you said about like spreading awareness about the co-governance which is happening in the broom, and maybe bringing people into the broom and then eventually into like co-tending or co-governing the broom. I say there's like about 3 minutes left to talk about this. Adam's typing. While I'm waiting for other people to say things, I'll say that if I read out the vote tally, it says Mifkelsakajabaduga. So the poll has spoken, y'all. I'm just being stupid. That's like profound. Thank you. Can you say more about inspiring people to start new threads, Adam? As tending?
Yeah, just kind of highlighting those parts of the tending as well, like encouraging people to start things. As I said, with the voices too on the vote, like that's way of tending also. Like there's multiple ways to tend. And I think people think about it more like administratively versus like just enriching the soil with like more intention and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I definitely think of that as tending, and I'm really glad you named it. So, Mifkelsakajabaduga to you. Thank you very much. No, I think, yeah, I guess like I'll say a bit more about that in the sense that like if I think about like a conversational space as a garden, and I think about making threads, and then like I'd say some of the tougher work when it comes to making threads is like if someone's talking about something outside of that thread, being like, oh, like we're talking about this in this thread, and like even like bringing it into the thread, or even just like referencing the thread, which like threads aren't that discoverable, right? Just like things in a garden, like sometimes you need someone to point them out to you, and then that can open up portals for people, I'd say, both metaphysically and physically. So I think it's not easy work, honestly. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but I think like it does help the garden grow, and it helps to like connect things for people. I guess like before we move on from this topic, are there any like takeaways or things we want to commit to doing more? Shamala hamala. And it underlines enriching the soil. Mifkelsakajabaduga. Hoda says redirecting convos feels pretty aligned to me. Yeah. And I think like with a nod back to the stats and that we pulled out of Discord, thanks to StatBot and Podrock for that. Like I'd say like if tending is going well, we'd expect to see more like weekly active users and more monthly active users and more fortnightly active users, and also just like more messages, let's say. And of course, like they could be like more bullshit messages, and they could be like more bullshit members. I'm just kidding, because I don't think that we would do that. But I feel like I trust y'all to like work towards boosting those stats without, let's say, like reducing the quality of the content in the broom to boost those stats. Okay. So I guess like the takeaway that Hoda's taking away, I guess, is redirecting convos feels pretty aligned. And yeah, I feel like maybe having like a statistics orientation, not necessarily like a centering in stats, but having an orientation with regard to stats may help us to think about tending in a slightly different way. Okay, next topic, which I'm also going to like I'd say the last topic we spent 7 minutes on. So this topic I said we spent about 5 minutes on. The next topic is I would like more voices in radio. How can we do that? How do we feel about it? I'll say that when I'm in archetypal hour, I can tell that Adam likes it more than when more people contribute. And I would say that for me, in why am I like this, I like it when people contribute. I don't care so much if it's in text or in voice, because I don't mind reading out the things that people say. I kind of enjoy it. And I also feel like it's easier for people to text because they don't have to worry about interrupting me or one another. But I'm kind of counting that as voices, which maybe like Adam's not. Is that correct?
I mean, it definitely counts as a voice too. But yeah, I was speaking to hear more sound voices also, just in discussion on the radio, and different people's points of views and perspectives with their own voice, for sure.
So one of the suggestions that Adam wrote down is open mic night, which is, I'm going to dismember myself because when I think of open mic night, I think of like singer-songwriter stuff. And like, I'll say often it's not very good in my opinion. But I think that like it can also include like just putting a call out to see if anybody wants to like have a discussion about anything. Or if they want to perform something. I'm gonna say like maybe as a takeaway of this topic, like we can say like figure out a way to like let people know that they can put time on the calendar or even just jump in radio and alert people if they want to have a chat maybe.
I mean, I feel like if the goal is to encourage expression, which it sounds like for Adam it is, then I think an open mic night would be perfect.
Okay. I mean, can you say why you feel like what I said is misaligned with that?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Do we want to make like an action item like on the board about promoting something like an open mic night?
Oh, I think that the reason why I said that was because you were like, "Oh, I don't think like when I think of an open mic night, like I think that the content is not very good or something."
I'm confused a little bit because I just said something about putting something on the board to create an open mic night, but then I feel like what you just said sounds like it was a response to my previous question.
It was, sorry. It just
Yeah. What I said is I was dismembering myself because I feel like open mic night content is generally not very good. Which is to say that I don't think I'm necessarily correct about that. And I don't feel like I want to be an obstruction to it. But then after that, I said, which I think is like in line with what I just said, would anybody like to put this on the GitHub board? I think is like me saying like, I don't think I don't want to be an obstruction to doing something about this. So I'm going to put something on the board about it because otherwise I'm not sure if it'll end up there. So I'm just going to call it open mic night. And then we can kind of like hash that out. There's some good chat right now about like the nature of promotion. So yeah, I guess like when we talk about promotion, we're talking about promoting upcoming sessions and also the outcomes of sessions and links to the recordings of those sessions. And I'll say that we're probably also talking a little bit about promoting the kinds of conversations or the outputs of conversations that happen in a broom. So if people end up posting things online which came from conversations they have in the broom, I would love to see people like attributing that to the broom radio. I think like it's also like a decent energy exchange. And I know like attribution's kind of like a spicy topic. I feel like people do it poorly on parasocial media in general. But I would like to see people do it well when it comes to the broom. I guess I've been talking about this for about 10 minutes now, so I'm not doing a great job of timekeeping, according to Kronos. Are there any other takeaways from this topic? Because we kind of started talking about promotion, which is not technically about this topic, but are there any more feels or takeaways to share around like getting more voices in radio? I think something that Light and Leaf said about packaging promotion for the containers in the radio as shows that people can watch out for is probably helpful. Like I think we tend to promote containers like after, like so that people can check out the recordings, but I don't think we tend to do a lot of things like, coming up in the next 24 hours in the broom radio, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to create an action item for that. Okay. Adam says experiment with formats that are more interactive. Oh yeah, Light and Leaf says, "Are you inviting non-broom members as guests in the show?" So we have like an interview format show right now it's called Dojo, and I've been asking people to make lists of like people they'd want to see interviewed. I'll tag you there just so it's easier for you to find. This is the channel where I'm asking for people to submit guests they'd like to see on the podcast. CC the pot. Now I have to find my way back to the channel. Yeah, I think that's a good example of a format which might be more interactive. We have like an exegesis session of a podcast I recorded with another member of the pod called Talumot coming up. I just need to schedule it, which is sort of like a group discussion of that recording. I would love to do like group discussions about like music and film and TV. And Light and Leaf says, in general, programming the episodes to the shows can be promoted days/weeks before. I would say like that's pretty much locked in. Like we have a calendar and we have an events tab, and I think we're pretty good at sticking to the calendar. I don't think many people look at the calendar or the events tab. So I think that's something we can fix. But then, yeah, I don't know. I'm open to ideas about like how to let people know about upcoming episodes. Thanks for your suggestions. Is there anything else that people want to say about experimenting with formats that are more interactive? It's funny, we used to have a channel called Culture Hour. Do we still have a channel called? Oh, we do have a channel called Culture Hour. And it was like really for like one of them, our members, the Keeper of the All, to talk about the lineage he was coming from. But I feel like we could repurpose that as a like a container where we talk about like TV shows and films and stuff. So I'm going to navigate over to the publishing board, and then I'm just going to create a task called Culture Hour. And I'm going to trust that we know what the fuck that means later. Okay, so the last topic. Where can the calendar of upcoming discussion topics be found? So, Light and Leaf, if you go to the events tab, either in Discord, yeah. So Podrock has a screenshot, and on your phone, it's just like a little clock. It used to be like a line that says events, but it became just like a little button with a clock on it. And also, I'll say if you go to the map of the broom, then we have a link to the Google Calendar, which you can add to your own calendar. So it's always there. But if you just click on the link, it's like by default in Eastern American time, New York time. But yeah, there's a little button there which says like add to Google Calendar. And I think you can also add it to other calendar apps from that button, which is like my personal favorite way to keep on track with things because I use calendar anyway. All right, so the last topic, and I know Hoda has to go soon, but the last topic in the top 3 is being happy about spa and live containers in general, and I guess like wanting to do more of them. I think we're kind of talking about especially like live containers. As far as spa goes, I'll say like I added like a monthly like dance session, which is basically the last Friday of every month. And it's called Rinse, which is sort of like UK and Australian slang for dancing, but also fits into the nomenclature of going to a spa, where I think like you soak and rinse. Oh, Latin Leaf says specific topics for archetypal hour. I mean, I think like we could update the calendar so it includes those topics, but often I would say the topics, at least for why am I like this, tend to be like reflexive to who joins the container. I also have questions in why am I like this pinned, which I usually choose from when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about in each container. And I feel like Adam tends to come up with the topic for archetypal hour in the week leading up to it. And then, when it comes to like dojo and like please disagree, we have a list of topics. And I think that like we kind of schedule those as we feel called to talk about those topics. So those should be available ahead of time. But yeah, I would say that like if y'all feel like we come up with topics, if we update the calendar, then it will also update the events tab and it'll show like a notification in the radio channel, which I think would be good. So then people who want to see what's coming up on the topical level, not just like what series of containers coming up, can tune into that too. Also, Adam, you're talking about wanting more dance parties, but you're not in 000. So, if you want to, I think you have access to them because you're a tender in the broom. So if you just want to like hop on Zoom and dance with us, then that's totally cool.
I had no idea that's what went down in 000.
Yeah,
Sounds
well, now you know. And they tend to happen on Zoom because I feel like video on Discord is a little bit janky, but also because Zoom records things more easily. Whereas recording stuff from Discord is kind of not so easy when it comes to video. Kia. Latin Sleeve says, that's what I meant by programming. Like, can we know the specific topic, invite guests so we can do promotion before the episode drops? Yeah. I don't really know if there's an action item. Actually, I'll just make an action item on the production board so we can kind of just be reminded of it. Oh, promoting promoting upcoming containers on social media is kind of already that, I would say. So we're at 30 minutes past the hour. I know Hoda has to drop soon, but I guess I'm kind of curious how y'all are feeling. If there's we can definitely continue this discussion asynchronously in the thread called Open Tending. I don't know, Latin Leaf, you're saying it's okay if that's not how you folks flow, and I would say like we're literally talking about like doing it. So I don't know. It's not. Yeah, I think like we're open to it. At least like some of us might want to flow that way. I'll say personally, for some containers, I feel like I don't want to flow that way, but for some other containers, I do want to flow that way. So like when it comes to having guests on the podcast and then inviting people to listen and participate in the discussion with that guest, I would love to like promote that up front. When it comes to like having a please disagree about a specific topic, I would love to promote that up front. And maybe like, yeah, if we repurpose Culture Hour as like having discussions about, say, like the TV show called Shogun or the Barbie film or his Dark Materials or, you know, the latest Justin Timberlake album, I feel like it would be cool to schedule those and promote them up front too. Yeah, is there anything that is coming through for people to share before we let Craig know he can go and close this retro? How is this retro for people? I'm gonna like redirect people to the thread if they want to talk more about this. And then I'll also update the thread with some of the screenshots relating to the stats that we shared earlier. And yeah, if you have any comments on the retro format or any advice about how you'd like it to go next time, whether you're a tender or whether you're someone who's joining us as a non-tender, thank you, Light and Leaf, for joining us, then please join the Discord and say something in the thread. For now, I'll say thank you for joining live. Thank you for listening if you're listening asynchronously. If you would like to support the Broom Radio, you can hit up buymeacoffee.com/thebroomradio and either make a one-time donation or look at the memberships available at buymeacoffee.com/thebroomradio/membership. Or if you would like to support us by promoting the Broom Radio on social media, then we would really appreciate that too. But otherwise, thank you for listening. I'm going to try typing /stop on my keyboard, and hopefully that will work. And we'll see you soon in the Broom. Peace.